You ever wake up one morning and feel like the universe just decided you were its personal piñata? Yeah, that was me last August. It started, as most train wrecks do, with a group chat and an innocent typo. I'm Sergey. Sergey M. Now, I don't know how many people named Sergey Ashley had in her contact list, but apparently, I wasn't the Sergey she meant to send a certain video to. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back a few weeks before my life turned into a Netflix-worthy drama. I was 38, comfortably boring, and honestly proud of it. Morning jogs, Costco Sundays, matching coffee mugs with my wife. Her name was Alina. Beautiful, sharp, the kind of woman who could make a TED Talk out of a grocery list. We met 7 years ago in a dentist's waiting room. I cracked a dumb joke about flossing being a government conspiracy. She laughed, married me a year later. That's all it took. A stupid joke and a perfectly aligned dental plan. For the first 5 years, I thought we were solid. Not fairy tale perfect. I mean, she hated my sock drawer chaos and I never understood her obsession with lemon-scented candles. But we worked. Then came the change. She started dressing up for work like she was auditioning for the role of CEO, who also models on weekends. New perfume, new routines, new passwords. You know, the subtle signs that scream someone else is seeing this version of her too. I asked once, gently, if everything was okay. Alina smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, I'm just rediscovering myself. Right. Because rediscovery apparently involves weekly trips to yoga that left her smelling like cigar smoke and whiskey. I didn't press. That's on me. I was raised in the church of don't accuse unless you've got Exhibit A through Z laminated and notarized. But then came the dinner. It was a Tuesday. Always is, isn't it? Tragedy loves a mundane day. Alina asked me to meet her downtown, said she wanted to talk. The way she said it had the same energy as someone prepping you for a root canal. I wore a button-down. She wore guilt. We met at this dimly lit place with jazz humming in the background and red wine too fancy for someone with my tax bracket. She looked across the table like she'd already decided something. I feel like we're drifting, she said. Like we're two ships. Passing in the night. I offered, already numb. She nodded like I was a particularly well-behaved student. Yes, exactly. I said nothing. I knew better. You don't argue with someone who's already packed emotionally. All you do is stay still long enough for the truth to find you. And find me it did. But that part, the reveal, the betrayal, the bombshell video, that's still a chapter or two away. Let's just say, at that dinner, she didn't mention anything about Sergey's. Plural. I was Sergey the husband. The other guy? He was Sergey the mistake. Only thing is, the video wasn't meant for me. And yet, there it was. Waiting in my inbox like a snake in the mailbox. Next time, I'll tell you exactly what happened when I pressed play, and why a 17-second clip nearly changed the entire trajectory of my life. Oh, and spoiler alert, my revenge? It wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was smarter than both of them combined. You ever open a message and know, instantly, that your life just split into before and after? That was me, staring at my phone, squinting at a thumbnail I should have never opened. It was a Thursday morning. Sunny, calm, birds chirping. You know, the kind of day that feels like it's actively mocking you for what's coming. I was brushing my teeth when my phone buzzed. Message from Alina. No text, just a video. Titled simply, Last Night Kiss Mark. Now, Alina and I hadn't had a last night in any meaningful sense for a while. So, either she was trying to rekindle something, or someone else was doing the kindling. Spoiler, it wasn't a rekindling. I pressed play. 17 seconds. No, I won't give you the dirty details. I respect your eyeballs too much for that. But here's what matters. It started with a giggle. Her giggle. The one that used to be reserved for me when I brought her breakfast in bed or tripped over the dog trying to look romantic. Then, a voice. Not mine. A deep, overly confident, borderline cartoon villain of a voice. You're lucky I don't share this with your husband. And then her voice. Uffed. My husband? Please. He's harmless. He's a Sergey. Not you. Excuse me? Not you? I paused the video. Rewound. Watched that one part again like it was the Zapruder film. I couldn't believe it. Not just the betrayal, but the absolute casualness of it. Like I was a punchline in her inside joke. And then it hit me. She meant to send this video to another Sergey. Another poor soul with the same Slavic badge of honor, caught in a very different story. Somehow, by the grace of either karma or God's twisted sense of humor, I, Sergey the husband, received the video meant for Sergey the other guy. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't even blink. I just sat down on the bed and stared at the wall like a man trying to remember where he left his dignity. An hour later, I was on my laptop. Opened a blank document. Titled it, Evidence. You see, Alina didn't just cheat. She documented it. Like it was a side hustle. Photos, videos, messages, airdrops, syncing across our shared cloud like Betrayal had a monthly data plan. And guess what else I found? The other Sergey's number. How? Because she'd saved him as S.Sergey Red Heart, and my name, folks, was Sergey Home. You really can't make this stuff up. And that's when the idea began to form. Revenge? No, not yet. Not until I understood the full scope of what she thought she'd gotten away with. But I will say this. By the end of that day, I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was focused. See, heartbreak is a storm. But what comes after? That's when the sky clears. And you start sharpening your tools. There's something oddly empowering about typing a cheater's lover's name into your phone. It's not sadness. Not fury. It's the calm before a chess move. I stared at the contact in her messages, S.Sergey Red Heart. Our names weren't even separated by numbers. Just vibes. I was Sergey Home, the utility version, the grocery list reader. And this man? He got the heart emoji. I'd never spoken to him. Didn't know his face. Just that he existed in the margins of my wife's double life. That, and the fact that he apparently inspires cell phone cinematography. So I texted him. Simple. Hey, wrong Sergey. Let's talk. Now I expected confusion. Maybe a shrug emoji. What I got? Read. No reply. 5 minutes later, I called. He picked up. Hello. I smiled. Hi. I'm Sergey. Not your Sergey. Her Sergey. Silence. Still with me? I asked. I saw the video. A long exhale. Look, man. Nope, I interrupted. Don't start with look, man. That's the phrase you use right before you try to make this my fault. You're not going to moral high ground your way out of this. I didn't know she was still married, he said. Really? I asked. You thought the giant kitchen island, monogram towels, and wedding bantan line were just decorative? He didn't answer. That's okay. You don't have to lie to me. She already did all the heavy lifting. He paused. So, what do you want? It was a fair question. What did I want? Closure? Justice? An apology? A handwritten letter from both of them stating, we're idiots? No, I didn't want words. I wanted leverage. I want you to send me everything, I said. Every text, every picture, every dumb little voice memo where she calls me dull, while you nod like a bobblehead with a gym membership. What? You heard me. I'm building something. I'm going to turn this betrayal into an asset. He hesitated. You gonna go public? No, I said calmly. Worse. I'm going to be precise. That afternoon, while Alina was probably sipping overpriced coffee thinking she'd outsmarted the world, I received the motherlode. Screenshots. Voice notes. Even a photo of her holding up a whiteboard with SS drawn inside a heart, like she was 14 and auditioning for humiliation. And then came the cherry on top. A copy of a draft email from her. To me. Titled, Let's Talk. The email explained, in her signature tone of calculated softness, that she'd found happiness elsewhere, but hoped we could stay close friends. As if she hadn't sent me a blooper reel of her cheating like it was a trailer for her new life. That's when the pieces came together. She was planning to leave. Cleanly. Quietly. With no idea that I knew. But here's the thing. She thought she held the cards. She didn't realize I was already dealing my own hand, and the river card? Oh, it was coming. I didn't lose sleep. I slept great. Like a man who just refinanced his heartbreak into ambition. See, Alina thought she had the perfect exit plan. A quiet little fadeaway, send me a breakup email over chamomile tea, walk off into the sunset with Sergey 2.0, probably make a Pinterest board about it. But life's funny. Sometimes the Sergey you're cheating on becomes the one writing the script. No, I'm not a dramatic man. I'm practical, calculated. But I do appreciate one thing, timing and poetic symmetry. So I made a reservation. Same restaurant where we had our anniversary last year. The one she insisted we go to even though they served deconstructed food, which is a fancy way of saying we forgot the bun. She wore that red dress. I wore hope. This time, I wore resolve. I texted her around noon. Me. Dinner tonight? 7 p.m. Just us. Feels overdue. She replied within 5 minutes. Alina, I agree. I'd like that. Of course she would. She thought she still had the power. Like she was walking me into a gentle goodbye, where she controlled the tone, the tempo, the tears. But what she didn't know was, I had already won. I showed up early. Not because I was eager. I just wanted to pick the seat with the better angle. Something cinematic about facing the door, waiting for your antagonist to walk in like it's the season finale. And there she was. Hair curled. Dress ironed. Expression somewhere between guilt and performance. Hi, she said, taking the seat across from me like she still owned part of me. I smiled. Alina. The waiter brought water. She ordered wine. I ordered truth. We chatted surface-level stuff. Weather. Work. She said she'd been doing a lot of reflecting lately. I almost laughed into my water. And then she dropped it. I've been thinking, she began, tilting her head like a TED Talk was coming. Maybe we should take some time apart. Just to reevaluate. I've grown a lot this past year. Grown into someone else's arms, I said flatly. She blinked. And there it was, the pause. That perfect, brief, stunned silence where a lie tries to find its footing but trips on the truth instead. What? She stammered. I leaned in slightly, elbows on the table, like I was about to share a recipe. You sent the video to the wrong Sergey. Her jaw tightened. A flicker of panic passed across her face like a cloud blotting the sun. You watched it, she whispered. All 17 seconds, I replied. And then I had a lovely chat with Sergey number 2. Turns out he's not very good at keeping secrets. Her folders. She looked away. Reached for her wine. Missed it slightly. I let the silence hang, like a painting she had to stare at. You think I'm angry, I said, but I'm not. You're not, she asked, cautiously. No, I'm focused. That rattled her. I pulled a small envelope from my coat pocket and slid it across the table. She didn't touch it. What's this? Documentation, I said. Screenshots. Messages. Voice memos. GPS logs. All neatly printed. She finally picked it up with trembling fingers. This is, she began, flipping through it. This is invasion of privacy. No, I corrected. This is evidence. And leverage. And an insurance policy against whatever amicable separation fantasy you were planning. She looked up, suddenly all business. You're blackmailing me now? No, I said again, calmly. I'm simply reminding you that you don't get to rewrite the narrative after burning the manuscript. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Not the Sergey who vacuumed the carpets and remembered her almond milk. The Sergey who could look betrayal in the face and still finish his dinner. What do you want? She asked. I leaned back in my chair. Simple. You walk away clean. No alimony. No public scenes. No sob story about how things just didn't work out. You admit, privately and legally, that you ended the marriage through infidelity. And then? We move on. She scoffed. You're punishing me. No, I said. I'm giving you the dignity of a quiet ending. One I didn't get. She looked down, then back up. Something hardened behind her eyes. You really think you've got it all figured out, huh? I stood, dropping a few bills on the table for the drinks. No, but I figured you out. And that was the hard part. She stayed seated, envelope in hand, words unsaid, and I walked out. That night, I didn't celebrate. I didn't cry. I just sat in my car, parked outside my house, and watched the porch light flicker. She came home 20 minutes later. Didn't say a word. Just walked past me like a ghost in high heels. And that was fine. Because tomorrow, I had an appointment with my lawyer. And a folder full of truth. You'd think watching your marriage collapse would feel like falling off a cliff. Truth is, it's slower than that. It's 1,000 little steps downward, until you realize the ground isn't under you anymore. And by then, you're already halfway through your descent. The dinner had been productive. Not satisfying, not cathartic, just necessary. A strategic move. A line drawn in black ink. But if I thought the fallout would settle neatly like snow on a roof, I underestimated how chaotic a woman scrambling to keep her secrets can be. The next morning, Alina was already at the kitchen table when I came downstairs. She hadn't touched her coffee. She was scrolling through her phone with the kind of panic usually reserved for stock market crashes or we need to talk texts. You're really doing this? She asked without looking up. I'm doing exactly what you would have done, if you were smarter, I said, grabbing my travel mug. She looked up sharply. Wow, the cold version of you is really something. I paused at the doorway. No, Alina. The awake version of me is really something. And I left it at that. My lawyer's name was Greg. Bald, blunt, and built like a man who only uses elliptical machines out of spite. You've got enough here to make this quick, he said, flipping through the folder I handed him. And ugly, if necessary. Let's keep it clean. Unless she gets cute. Greg smiled. They always get cute. The petition was drawn up that same day. Infidelity cited. Evidence sealed but acknowledged. I wasn't after her money. I didn't want revenge in the traditional sense. I wanted something harder to fake, accountability, and something harder to win back, respect. I wanted her to sit in that courtroom one day, stare at the paperwork, and realize that for the first time in years, I was ahead of her. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. Sergey number 2 reached out, texted me on a Saturday morning like we were old war buddies. Hey man, can we talk? Now, my first instinct was to block him faster than a spam call from National Car Warranty. But curiosity is a strange beast. We met for coffee that afternoon. Neutral ground. Strip mall Starbucks with fake jazz and real tension. He was younger than me by maybe 5 years. Looked like a guy who used the gym to hide his insecurities and beard oil to mask his mistakes. Look, he started. I didn't know she was married. At first. But yeah, eventually, I figured it out. And you kept going? I asked, sipping slowly. I told myself you two were separated. She said it was dead, just waiting to be buried. I nodded. And yet, you never asked why the funeral hadn't happened. He rubbed the back of his neck. She's complicated. I smiled. That's one word. Then he leaned in, lowered his voice like we were in a spy thriller. I think she's still playing both of us. I blinked. Come again. She reached out to me after your dinner. Said things were confusing right now, and that she needed space to figure things out. But she also hinted at us moving in together. I stared at him. Wait, you think I care if she's still lying to you? He raised both hands. I just thought you should know. She's not going quietly. That part, I believed. And that night, she proved it. I came home to find her sitting on the couch, flanked by photo albums. Actual, printed albums. Stuff from our wedding, our early years. The greatest hits of what used to be. Thought we could talk, she said. About what? Our past or your current juggling act? Her eyes didn't waver. You want to punish me? Fine. But don't rewrite history. I set my keys down. Calm. I'm not. I'm just done letting you rewrite it. She held up a photo. Us on a beach. Younger, sunburnt, in love. You remember this? I glanced. Yeah. That was the trip where you lost your sunglasses and blamed it on a crab conspiracy. She smiled briefly. You used to laugh more, she said. You used to lie less. She flinched. And then she tried the nuclear option. What if we tried again? I didn't answer right away. I walked to the window, looked out at the street where our neighbors washed their cars like nothing in the world ever broke. Then I turned around. You think this is still about feelings? It's not. This is about respect. And once that's gone, it's gone. She stood now, defensive. I made a mistake. No, I corrected. You made a decision. Multiple ones. You had options, Alina. Counseling. Conversation. Honesty. You chose deceit. Every day. Over and over. She folded her arms. So that's it. We're just done. I walked past her toward the stairs. We were done the moment you started filming your betrayal and naming the files like they were love letters. I didn't wait for her reply. I went upstairs, packed a small bag, and booked a hotel. Let her sit in that house with her nostalgia and denial. But this story's not over. You don't build something this sharp without pointing it. And my final move? Oh, it's coming. With a twist neither of them saw coming. Let me tell you something about revenge. If it's loud, you're doing it wrong. Real revenge? It walks in wearing a suit, smiles politely, leaves paperwork, and it always knocks before it blows the door off the hinges. So there I was, sitting in a modest third-floor hotel room, watching Alina's social media like a stock analyst watches Wall Street. I wasn't looking for pictures. I was tracking tone, the captions, the tags, the sudden absence of me, the sudden presence of wine glasses and solo selfies. The breakup rollout. She was trying to make it look mutual, as if we both stood in the kitchen one day and said, "Welp, guess we'll call it a marriage. Good run, you cheat, I'll pack. Nice try." But I had other plans. The idea came 2 days after our last conversation. Sergey number 2 had unknowingly gifted me something better than drama leverage. I didn't just have receipts. I had access. Apparently, When your wife's boyfriend also happens to be technologically challenged, he doesn't realize his cloud backups are synced across 2 devices. And one of those devices was an old iPad she kept in the closet. Long forgotten. Still active. Still full of everything. Every message. Every blurry, ego-stroking mirror pic. Every audio note. Even one where she called me her backup plan. Nice. I transferred everything to a secure drive. Not to leak. Not to shame. No. I had something more refined in mind. That's when I remembered. She had a work gala coming up. One of those black tie fundraisers where people in overpriced shoes pretend to care about public parks or marine turtles or whatever cause was fashionable this year. Alina had been planning it for months. She was even chairing one of the subcommittees. And best of all, it was formal, public, and catered. In other words, perfectly inconvenient for embarrassment. I reached out to her boss first. Not directly, just a quiet email from a dummy account, addressed to the company's general HR inbox. Concerned employee, I typed. Thought you should be aware your project coordinator may have compromised company resources by using work travel to engage in personal affairs. I've attached relevant timestamps and photos. If this is a misunderstanding, feel free to disregard. The kind of vague but loaded message that doesn't scream scandal, but definitely whispers audit. Within hours, it was forwarded. Within days, she was under review. And then came the gala. I showed up in a fitted charcoal suit. Not flashy, not showy, just crisp enough to say, I've moved on, and I iron things now. Sergey number 2 was there too. Oh yes. They decided to debut their situationship. Bold move, really. Nothing screams fresh start like walking into a corporate event on the arm of the man your coworkers used to see on Zoom calls, labeled unknown caller. I didn't approach them right away. That would have been too easy. No, I waited. Waited until the wine kicked in, until she was laughing with a little too much volume, glowing under chandeliers she had helped pick out, thinking the worst was behind her. And then I walked over. She saw me mid-laugh. Froze. Sergey number 2 turned around just in time to realize this wasn't a social call. Evening, I said. Alina tried to smile. What are you doing here? Supporting a good cause, I said. Turtles, right? She blinked. Sergey chuckled nervously. Hey man, listen. I'm not here for you, I said without looking at him. But I did want to say thank you. You've both inspired me. She narrowed her eyes. Inspired you? I reached into my pocket, pulled out a sleek black USB drive, and placed it gently on the linen-covered table. This is a copy, I said, of everything you never meant to be seen. Don't worry, it's not going public. But it has been shared. Just enough to make sure you don't rewrite history. Are you threatening me? She whispered, eyes darting toward the event photographer. No, I said. I'm giving you closure. Then I smiled, nodded to the nearest waiter, and grabbed a mini quiche off the tray. Decent catering this year, I said. Well done. I turned and walked away. No explosions. No screaming. Just 2 people, standing in a sea of their own illusions, holding a drive that weighed more than it looked. Later that week, I got a call from her lawyer. Very professional. Very polite. We're prepared to settle, he said. Of course you are. No alimony. No drawn-out hearings. Just one clean signature. It was over. And yet, I wasn't done. See, revenge isn't just about getting even. It's about restoring balance. So for my last move, I did something quiet. Something only she would notice. I changed the locks. Not to the house, we'd already split. I changed the locks to her narrative. A few well-placed emails. A couple of awkward conversations. One friendly brunch with her former coworker who'd always suspected something. No slander. Just the truth. Neatly packaged. Delivered softly. And slowly, her world stopped spinning in the direction she thought she'd sent it. Now, I sit here, months later, on my own couch. New place. No lemon candles. No pretending. Just me. And yeah, maybe I'm a little bruised. But I'm not broken. I'm free. Because in the end, she thought she'd get away with lying to 2 Sergeys. Turns out, she couldn't even handle one. A week after the gala, I got the text. From Alina, of course. I don't expect forgiveness. Just hope someday we can talk. No punctuation after that. Like she wanted the message to float. Like the absence of a period would soften the betrayal. I didn't reply. Because there's a special kind of peace that comes from not answering. It's cleaner than any comeback. By this point, her work situation had shifted, as LinkedIn kindly phrased it. I didn't push. I didn't need to. She built the bonfire, I just handed her the match. Mutual friends started talking. Carefully. Like I was a house that used to be haunted and no one wanted to wake the ghost. Hey man, I just want to say, I didn't know, one said. I never liked that guy she was with, another admitted. And suddenly, I wasn't the guy who got cheated on. I was the guy who handled it like a CEO with a vendetta and a playlist of jazz revenge music. And her? Well, she was learning what happens when people stop respecting you. I thought Sergey #2 would disappear. That's what side pieces usually do after the spotlight hits them. But no, he lingered, like the last song at a party no one enjoyed. He messaged me again. Hey, just wanted you to know I didn't think it'd get this messy. I actually liked her. I stared at the screen. Liked? Past tense. I didn't reply again, but I did smile. Then, 2 days later, I saw the cherry on top, a new photo on his Instagram. Him. Alone. Standing in front of a blank wall with a caption that simply read, Lessons learned. That told me everything I needed to know. She dumped him. Of course she did. That's the pattern. Alina's relationships were less about love and more like open auditions. Whoever impressed her got a call back. Until she rewrote the script again. He was never going to be the man she wanted. Just the man who made her feel like someone else. And once she was done trying on that version of herself, out he went. But here's the kicker. This time, no Sergey was there to break her fall. 6 months later, the dust had fully settled. I'd moved into a smaller place. 1 bedroom. A balcony. No echoes of her perfume in the hall. I'd even started seeing someone new. Slowly. Carefully. A woman named Rachel. She had a dry sense of humor and zero interest in posting anything to Instagram, which immediately put her 15 miles ahead of Alina. She knew the story. I told her everything. She didn't flinch. Didn't pity me. Just nodded and said, Sounds like you made it out with your soul intact. She was right. Because in the end, this wasn't about punishment. It was about preservation. Alina didn't break me. She revealed me. She peeled away the parts of me that tolerated too much, forgave too quickly, and confused peacekeeping with self-respect. And now? I was better than healed. I was awake. Cruelty is relative. Some people think revenge has to be dramatic. Key the car, burn the clothes, ruin the career. But real cruelty is indifference. It's the sound of the door closing and not reopening. The absence of your name on their lips. The way people forget who you used to be because who you are now outshines the memory. I didn't torch Alina's life. I didn't need to. She lit the match, thinking she was sparking passion. Instead, she burned the bridge. And when she looked back, I wasn't there waving goodbye. I was already gone. And the cruelest thing I did was thrive without her. Because that kind of success, it doesn't come with applause. It comes with silence. The kind that tells you, you lost something that mattered. And I gained something that never cheats, never lies, and always shows up. Myself.